Bam! Bill has opinions. We're back for another episode. Where's all my stuff? Oh, hi. Welcome to the 17th episode of Bill Has Opinions, the most Gen X show you're listening to right now. I'm Laura Lavoie, of course, and I am joined, as always, by Bill Perkins, who has opinions. Bill, how are you doing this evening?
My allergies have been giving me a fit today. I don't know why, it's weird because it's like late summer. It's like not the beginning of a season really, but something just started. Like I woke up this morning feeling pretty lousy in the sinus department, and it's gone on all day. Just constant runny nose, sneezy nonsense. You know, I know it's not COVID. I can tell. So here's the thing. This is a funny thing when you live with allergies. When you live with allergies, you start to develop a sense of, I can tell when I sneeze if it's an allergy sneeze or a cold sneeze. Like there's a different feeling when I'm actually catching a cold and I know it. I'm like, oh, that was like, because an allergy sneeze, I actually feel it coming, like there's a seed of a sneeze for like 15 minutes before it happens, right? Like I can actually feel something irritating me. Whereas a cold sneeze just kind of comes out of nowhere. You're just, you know, like it's just that. And you're like, oh damn, that came out of nowhere. That means I'm getting something. You know? But when I'm walking around all day, I'm gonna sneeze sometime in the next 15 minutes. You know, then I know it's allergies. So that's how I felt all day. Other than that,
right? I hear you because I
just be honest.
Well, I did ask how you were, and that's how that goes. And I apologize again, folks. We are having some technical difficulties. Hopefully things will dial up. I am much, much closer to the router today than I was last week. But that does not change the fact that the internet sucks real bad in the house that I'm in. So, but we're just gonna plow on through like everything's fine. So, Bill, tell me what you're drinking.
I'm starting off here with the Wicked Weed Watermelon Burst Sour, which I'm about done with. But I thought,
oh wow, yes,
it's really drinkable, and I figured I could chase that down real quick and go ahead and get a buzz on. Then I've got an ABC Rocket Girl to follow that up with, and then I decided to go on a limb because one of the other things I tried to drink tapped out. So then I switched and decided to go with a cider, which is the Blake's Traffic Jam Berry Cider. I don't know what that's all about, but it's
Blake's,
about the same. It's actually about the same.
I am genuinely interested about that.
All right, well,
so here's a crazy thing. So Blake's Apple Orchard is a thing in Michigan, and it's like the place you go in the fall to pick apples and drink pressed cider and eat cinnamon coated donuts. And like everybody does that when we're kids. Like that is the thing people do in Michigan. And the fact that and I know that they've recently started making hard cider fairly recently within the last few years. And I can't imagine why anything else would be called Blake's other than Blake's out of Michigan. So I'm very, very curious to know more. If anybody watching, any of our 3 viewers can Google that while we're here, I would love to know more.
Okay, so I just took the first sip of it and it actually tastes kind of Christmassy. It must have like cranberry or lingonberry or something like that in it. I don't know what berries, or it's got a blend of other berries that when blended together, they taste kind of like cranberry. That's what I taste predominantly. It's got this very kind of, it tastes like, you know the cranberry ginger ale that they sell around the holidays?
Yeah, I like cranberry ginger ale around the holidays.
I do too. I associate it with Christmas. So this tastes Christmassy to me because it kind of reminds me of that.
All right. Okay. So Jay is on the case. It does appear that it might, in fact, be the Blake's Apple Orchard of my childhood. So that's kind of crazy that apparently they're distributing hard cider all the way to North Carolina.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So cheers to that.
So actually, I'm going to take a meander here for a second because it's not about what the show's about, but you mentioned the whole fall apple picking, donut eating, cider drinking thing, and so around
don't go too far down that rabbit hole because we've got a whole show because folks, we actually made like an actual calendar for all the shows.
These parts around these parts, everybody goes to Skytop for the same experience. Skytop Orchard, which is just down the road here a sec. Anyway,
Nice.
I'm sure there's one of those in every place, probably.
Nice.
I mean, depending on where you live. I mean, probably not if you're in Albuquerque or something, but
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, yeah, what's because obviously Michigan is known for apples, North Carolina is known for apples, North Georgia is known for apples.
Washington.
So, but yeah, what like New Mexico? Are there many apple orchards? Is that a thing?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know if
I don't know what they do.
know if Albert's watching today, but if he is, he can give us a holler about what they do in Albuquerque.
We're just curious. What's fall in Albuquerque like? All right,
Yeah.
but since today's topic of the show, although I will say that anything we discuss is technically, hey, look, Albert says they do have orchards.
What?
I don't know the extent of their orchards or the yeah, I don't. They have to be like way like aqueducts going to them, things like that, because I don't know how you would do that. So it's Albuquerque. Thank you. We can always count on Matt for the puns. Well, we're going off on people are very interested in this conversation. It's not even our topic. Look at this. Apparently, if they're open due to COVID restrictions, Jay is headed to Blake's this fall. 30 taps of hard cider and craft beer. That is not the Blake's of my childhood by any means. It is the Blake's of my dreams, but it is not the Blake's. And also in Albuquerque, according to Albert, are federal agents. So
it seems more likely than orchards to me.
yeah. As of right now, there are federal agents almost everywhere. So watch out. Be careful. Be safe. All right. But the topic of the day, and anything really applies because our topic is social media. And obviously, we are actively on social media and people are commenting on social media. Therefore, any comments apply, I suppose. So
it's all related.
So I thought, let's start this. It's all really, it all comes together. It's all just a big circle. But I thought what would be a great way to start out our conversation on social media is not just what is social media, is it good or bad or whatever. I'm sure we can get into all that. We probably will later. But what I want to know, Bill, us being the Gen X talk show hosts that we are, what was your first experience with social media? Think way back, college, whenever. Where did you get involved in social media?
First social media was probably IRC. Do you remember that? IRC. It was like just text-based chat on the old school interwebs. That was the first time, the first social thing. Then there was you remember AOL had this thing called, it was like Comic Chat. Do you remember this? And it was like you were in it was a chat room, but it created a live comic strip, and you would pick an avatar.
Oh no, I did not.
It was very short lived. So AOL had this thing, and it was called Comic Chat, and the chat room looked like it was divvied up into little linear black and white, and you picked an avatar, and mine was like a tiki god witch doctor looking thing, from like Scooby Doo, wooden face mask. And you would chat, and then the other character.
And you would have gotten away with it too.
I would have, yeah. That I remember doing that once or twice. I wasn't
for you meddling kids.
I wasn't.
That's interesting.
What were you saying?
That's really interesting because, well, no, I'm curious because one of my first entries into social media, I guess, text messaging, I don't know, was AOL Instant Messenger. And that's actually where I learned to type because you had to type so fast to get a conversation out that I learned, that's the only reason I can type as fast as I can and that I don't have to look at the keyboard because I would just laser focus on whatever argument I was having with whoever I was chatting with on AOL Instant Messenger.
I got some things to say.
I do, which is funny because and I'll. Oh yes.
I was just going to Gen X per
You
se
go.
and say here. So here's the thing, and I don't know if people consider this social media or not, but it's the social media for me. This was my real, when I really got social on the interwebs, was internet forums, which were basically a web page about a particular topic. Usually, they're usually very focused, like but they were a specific web page you go to. It would have its own URL, and there might be sub forums under it. But so the first one I joined probably was related to the fact that I bought a Subaru. So I was on the Subaru forum, which was actually a huge, huge forum. It's called NASIOT, which stands for North American Subaru Impreza Owners Club. That thing. So here's the thing, like, so it had all these forums about like my Subaru's broken, or I did this to the Subaru, or hey, what's the best way to get another 12 horsepower out of my Subaru, blah blah blah. Mostly it was that kind of. It was mostly people tricking out Subarus is what it was, but tricking out Subarus leads to problems with your Subaru. So people didn't, have those questions. But it also had a really huge off-topic forum, like sub-forum, where people just talked about, pop culture and bullshit. And that part was really, really entertaining and funny. And so I used to look at that a lot. So here, this is a very formative thing, and it's not just about social media, but this is about like friend making, okay? This affected me on a great deal, but when the bass player for the Dead Milkmen, Dave Blood, committed suicide, this was 2002-ish, somewhere around there. Anyway, when that happened, that really, really hit me hard. I'm not usually the kind of person who really cares that much about celebrity deaths, but this particular one bothered me because it was part of my youth that was now taken away from me. Also, earlier that year, I think Pitchfork, which was a kind of a hipster internet, it was like the hipster internet Rolling Stone for indie rock back in the 90s. I mean, I guess it went on after that, but like the late 90s, early 2000s was when it peaked, kind of. And I used to read Pitchfork kind of religiously every morning, and they had a New Year's resolutions thing that very year, that said one of the things that was going to happen was the Dead Milkmen were going to get back together. They had been broken up for, I don't remember, like probably 6-7 years. And when I read that, I mean, I was like, I know this is just being funny, but at the same time, wouldn't that be great? And when Dave Blood committed suicide, I was like, well, now that shit will never happen. That sucks ass, And so it struck me really hard. And so here's what I did was to deal with my grief. What I did was I went and found a internet forum for Dead Milkmen fans. Now, there were actually two of them at the time. There was one that was strictly a Dead Milkmen webpage, and that one, frankly, had a lot of just goobers in it that I didn't care for. Like, this one guy really dominated the conversation all the time. He was like somebody's chemistry teacher from high school. I mean, literally, I'm not making that up. He actually, I think his job was, he's a chemistry teacher in high school. And so I guess he had all this free time to get on there and just blah, 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 blah. But that guy dominated that whole forum, and he was really unlikable. So I ended up not hanging out on the Dead Milkmen forum, and I switched over to the forum that was it was just Rodney Anonymous, who's the lead singer for the Dead Milkmen. He had his own website. And actually, this is funny. It was called Rodney Anonymous Tells You How to Live. And it was kind of like Bill Has Opinions. It was just him ranting about shit. It was him ranting about shit and telling you, like, if he read a good book, or if he saw a good movie, or here's a band I like. It was just like, here's the bands to listen to, here's the books to read, here's the movies I like, do these things, Anyway, he had a forum on his website, where people could chit chat, and I found that preferable because there were only like 9 people on there, so we were more of a close knit. We talked about parties a couple weeks ago. And actually, so long story short,
without commentary.
Long story short, Albert here, that's where I met Albert, is through the Rodney Anonymous website. Okay. I've actually met a lot of friends on that website. I said it was a kind of a close knit group, and I've actually met, I want to say, 5 people in person off that forum now. Like
Mhm.
if one of us is passing through the other's town, we stop and say, "Hey," it's a thing we do. So that's the socialist of social media I have ever done, right? Like, because that led to real friendships. And then after that,
Right.
so right about the time I split up with my first wife, the MySpace became a thing, like right then, which was kind of good and bad at the same time, because MySpace actually, unlike Facebook, it was a social media site, but it was also kind of a dating site, sort of, because it seemed like it had like it told you like what somebody's status was, and it was kind of geared towards like wink wink, do you want to talk to this person? And you could search on like you could say like show me all the single girls within 20 miles of here, that kind of thing, which you can't do on Facebook.
And we wonder why it doesn't exist anymore.
It's crazy. Actually, I think in some ways it was a superior. Here's what was bad about it. It was those fucking glitter graphics. That's why it went away. People got tired of those damn glitter graphics.
Yes.
It was like this Lisa Frank monstrosity bullshit. And people would come into your Facebook page and they would post like Happy Hump Day every fucking Wednesday, And it would be this glitter graphic. Like,
you know what day it is? You know what day it is?
It was so silly. But here was what was cool. This is funny. I've actually seen this on a meme somewhere where somebody was like, wouldn't it be cool if on your Facebook page you could put your favorite song? When people came to your Facebook page, they'd have to hear your favorite song. And somebody was like, oh my God, this person has never heard of my song. But that was a thing, right? Like that was how MySpace worked. Is you had your song, and you had you pick a color or a theme or some crap, and it would you could change the background, and you had glitter graphics. Oh, this was the worst part of it. The worst part of it was though it had this top 8 thing, so you would pick who your top 8 friends were.
Right, but you always had to have whatever Tom. What was his name?
No, you didn't have to have Tom. Was your default friend.
Mm.
He wasn't in your
in case
top
you 8. Need a friend.
Yeah, he was just in case. Yeah, in case you needed a friend, he was there. No, you could pick your top 8 though, and this is the thing. It did like it would make more sense if it picked your top 8 for you. Like if it was an algorithm and it said these 8 people interact with you the most, right? Like that would make more sense. But instead, it asked you to pick a top 8, which was alienating to anyone who wasn't in it, right? Like it kind of like, hey, you didn't make the top 8.
You're not my friend. Yeah, exactly.
But
exactly. It's funny because I never ended up on MySpace. I don't know why. I jumped right over it. Actually, I do know why, and I will tell you why in a second. But I did jump right over MySpace. Just never even bothered. Maybe. But so I agree. Forums were an early form of social media, and I was on one for a really, really long time for cats, because the internet and cats were made for each other. So, right. And it wasn't like I Can Has Cheeseburger where people were talking like their cats. It was just cat people talking about their cats to one another. And I actually met several of them. I employed 2 of them because I was working in staffing. And I actually got 2 of them jobs because at the time I was doing staffing throughout the country. So I got 2 of them jobs. And so I'd say that was a success. But the reason that I did not get MySpace, I think, was because I focused on LiveJournal. Because LiveJournal was a mass blogging platform, but it was meant to be social. So you had all your friends, and so you blogged. The whole point was long form information, but then you would interact with your friends through that process. Right.
I read a lot of LiveJournals of other people, but I didn't participate in it because I'm not that kind of like I don't write about my feelings and whatever. It's not how I work. So it wasn't interactive for me. But I would read other people's LiveJournals. I remember it.
Right, and that's actually so. It was through LiveJournal that I started blogging about the tiny house. We started building the tiny house, and I was still on LiveJournal then. I would just, every time we went up and did a build, did a build weekend, I would post pictures and the updates of what we did. And then people were like, you should have like a real blog that's not just limited to your 50 friends on LiveJournal. So I did, and that's, history from there. So technically LiveJournal kickstarted everything, because if it weren't for that, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. So, and I will also say that I did make a lot of in-person friends, and I think it is possible to make in-person friends through social media, whatever the social media of the time is. One of my closest friends, Kara, met her on LiveJournal ages and ages ago, and through her met some of my other closest friends, like Heather, who is a friend of the show and often watches. So yay LiveJournal, because I'd say that was a social experiment that went well. Although now it's owned by the Russians and nobody goes on it anymore.
So my friend Doug, actually, from high school, who sometimes watches our show, always likes our posts, whether or not he watches.
Well, you can watch later. You don't have to watch live.
That's true. Anyway, he met his wife through LiveJournal. He was always like posting poetry or something on LiveJournal. This is crazy. He lived in South Carolina. Well, no, I'm sorry. I guess at the time he was living in Kansas. He went to grad school in Kansas, and he was living in Kansas, and he was like putting poetry on LiveJournal. He's an English major, and his current wife, they've been together for 20-something years probably. Anyway, she lived in Wisconsin and read his poetry, and he spoke to her, and she reached out to him, and they became, soulmates or whatever.
See?
So there you go.
See? Yeah, exactly.
Internet friends are real. Hell, I met my wife on a dating site. So that's a social media, I presume. It's dating sites. It's the socialist of media, right? Like, I don't know. It's like,
that's its intention, right?
Yeah, it's be people to be social with, right?
Exactly. Well, and so longtime listener Jay, who we know very well, who may be coming to visit soon, but let's not talk about that because nobody's allowed to be traveling. But he will do social distancing. He knows this guy Andy that we also know, that they met through BBS's way back in the day. So I wouldn't know Jay today if it weren't for social media. So, you wouldn't know Jay today for the same things.
Right.
Exactly.
And truth be told, I guess in a way we wouldn't know each other, because even though we know each other through Dragon Con, we met at a local meetup for Dragon Con, which was that on Facebook or something like that, I wouldn't know about it. It wasn't through the internet. So there's that.
See, I maintain, and after the break, we will talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly about social media, but I maintain that social media at its core is a good thing. It's just, is the tool being used for good or evil, depending on who's in charge of creating it.
Sure. Well, and some of that is...
So with that being said...
Okay.
Well, let's get into that after station break. So we talked before the show that we weren't really sure what our station break was going to be. But then I remembered a thing that I saw today that I thought was really cool.
I thought we really already
and
Blake's a good plug.
We did give Blake's a plug. We absolutely did. But I was thinking earlier today, so on social media, because now those old forums and stuff are replaced by Facebook groups and things like that.
Right.
And one of my current favorite hobbies, as we discussed on the hobby show, is tiki stuff. And so there was a conversation about tiki mugs, people collecting tiki mugs. And they're right now, so this is no ad, no plug. We are not getting a dime. I'm not getting a mug, although if the artist would like to send me one for free for mentioning it on the show, I'll be glad to take it. I'll share my address later. But if anyone's familiar with Geeky Tiki, right? So they're a nerdy, tiki mashup mug collection. They make Star Wars and, any Star Trek, they make Marvel, all that. Well, they teamed up with artist Shag, who is known for his mid-century and tiki style art, to do a special edition Star Wars collection. And it's freaking gorgeous. So if you have a chance, search Geeky Tiki times Shag, Geeky Tiki X Shag, special edition Star Wars. They're super cool. Some of them are already sold out, but not all of them are. And they're definitely worth checking out if you're into tiki stuff, because they're really, really neat. And there's some accessory art too, like not just the mugs themselves. You can buy swizzle sticks, you can buy coasters, and I've heard mention of tiki print shirts, which I have not seen, but once they are on the market, I will see if I can buy one because they are really, really cool. So, is that Shag calling to tell me that he's going to give me a mug? That would be awesome.
I doubt it. I bet it's somebody calling to find out. Sadly, the Purple Onion is not open today.
Alas. And also the Purple Onion in Saluda, North Carolina. All right. So let's get into that subject, right? So like there's a lot of talk right now about how social media, and you recently went on a social media cleanse, as it were, and understandably, where social media is not always used as a positive tool. So let's talk about that. The good, the bad, and the ugly about social media. Just,
yeah,
all of that. Start somewhere. Go.
Okay, yeah. So I took like a good 2-week hiatus from Facebook, and I'm not using Facebook to the extent that I was, because I used to be a prolific Facebook user, like to the point of I'm sure my friends were like, "Does this guy ever do any fucking work at work?" Like because all he needs to do is run his mouth on Facebook all day. So yeah, I took a couple weeks off from Facebook, partly because I was disgusted with the political stance that Facebook took about their nonchalance towards being complicit in spreading of misinformation. They were just like, "Yeah, we're not doing it. We're not. We don't need to filter that shit or anything like that." So that's to the crux of your argument. That's the evil that lies in social media, is that it's so easy. It's become easier than ever for bullshit to get spread around, right? Like used to be back in the day, you had to have like I guess not just back in the day, but I mean, you have to have an outlet to get bullshit to people, right? Like, you have to become like a musician or some kind of star or have a show or something. Write a zine, exactly. Which was, that was like, in a sense, a zine was the earlier, like, pre-internet form of social media, was it not? Like, and I had a zine in high school, but that was pre-internet.
I had an underground newspaper. We did not call it a zine.
Underground newspaper. Very, very hoity-toity.
We only had 2 issues before people got called to the principal's office, so it died a very quick and painless death.
Yeah, I had a monthly zine that actually ran for about 2.5 years, I want to say. And then in the middle of college, I just was like, I don't have time for this bullshit anymore, So, but it ran my entire. I think I did. I want to say I started. When did I start that shit? I want to say the beginning of senior year in high school, and I ran it all through senior year of high school and all through freshman year of college, and then, I got somewhat into the second year of college. It was just like, I don't have time for this anymore, and I don't know if anybody gives a shit. And I tried to when the internet came out, I thought about like revising it, like bringing it back and making it an internet thing. And I think I actually had one of my friend Doug, actually, who used to write a column for it, because that helped fill some space for me. He started writing a column during the college year because I was so busy I couldn't fill the whole thing up anymore. So anyway, when I decided, once the internet became a thing in the 90s, I was like, oh shit, I should bring it back and make it an internet zine, And I tried I think I wrote like one issue, and I was just like, nah, this is too much hassle. I'm not done. I'm done with it. You know.
Was it like on GeoCities or Angel Fire or whatever with like where you move the cursor across the screen and there would be like fireworks or whatever?
Yeah. It would have been on Tripod because that was all. Tripod was my. It was. I think Tripod bought out Angel Fire and GeoCities eventually, or it's all the same company now. Lycos actually owns all of them, I think.
Is it even still a company now? Does it? Can you do that?
So check this out. Very recently, I got a phishing email from Lycos about something or other, and it made me think about it. And I clicked the button, and I which I shouldn't have clicked it, but I clicked it, and I went.
Yeah, don't do that.
I shouldn't have, but I went to their. Oh, you know what it was? It was like somebody had filed a help ticket, but sent it to my email address. I don't know what kind of crazy phishing shit that is. Anyway, it made me remember it, and I was like, oh shit. And I went to it, and then I was like, while I'm here, I was like, oh hey, out of curiosity, if I had a web page back in the 90s and now it's gone, can you find it, and is it archived, and can I get it back up? And they were like, yeah, we can probably do that.
Yes
is the answer. So if you had a GeoCities,
yes is the answer.
Fire, Tripod.
Well, anything can be found in the Wayback Machine. Just use the Wayback Machine. You can find literally everything.
I had a small media empire for a minute in the late 90s, early 2000s. Because as we mentioned before, I've been an amateur musician before. So I had my own vanity record label. So I had a website for my record label, which had 3 or 4 bands, which were all bands that I was in on that record label.
Of
course. And then I had a comic, and I had and then I just had a bunch of personal pages with random, I remember I had a website one time that was a database of my record collection, and it just had every record I owned. I don't know why, because it was something to do one afternoon. So that's the kind of anal retentive bullshit that I would do back when the internet was new.
So I wonder when those kinds of pages are going to become like the retro chic, like that people are going to be creating websites that look like Angel Fire websites instead of like the nice sleek websites that we have now. Yeah. Like I'm waiting for that to become a thing again. Yeah, but everything just like MySpace, where everything's going to be glittery and things are going to bounce onto the screen as you open the page.
Right. Yeah, it's funny because bells and whistles.
I'm waiting for that to happen.
Bells and whistles were like a thing in the late 90s on web pages. It was like if you could find a new thing, like something moved or something flashed or some jive like that, people ate that shit up. And actually, so in the early 90s, I was actually a web developer for a while, briefly, and I used to caution my clients against that because they'd be like, "Hey, can we get something that flashes or something?" And I'd be like, "Could we not, please? Like, really? That's no. It looks amateur bullshit."
Can we get something? Can we get something that flashes like this? Is this what we can get that flashes?
That's right.
Because I just made that, and I was very, very proud of it.
I'll tell you because
that's literally all I've got. I was just so excited that it did that.
I know, right? It moves. Look at it. No, because people would do these like crazy things. You remember when Flash became the new thing for a minute? And you go to a website, and you go to the website, it'll be like whoosh, 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 whoosh. And you'd have to wait like 15 minutes to get to the actual content of the website. I would have to
right, because everything had to load.
Yeah, and I would tell my clients, like, here's the thing. most people, if they go to a website and you gotta optimize your website for the lowest common denominator. Like you gotta figure this guy doesn't have the newest, freshest computer with a high graphics card. He's got like a 5-year-old computer and he's running a 1400 baud modem, and that's a thing, kids. Look it up. Anyway, like you got to figure that guy's going to get aggravated before he gets to your content. Like if you're trying to sell something or whatever, he's going to be like, "Oh fuck this shit." He's going to hit the back button because he's tired of watching this thing like school. So that was my cautionary tale to people was like, don't do that shit. I was like, honest to God, the simplest thing you can do to make your website stand out, the simplest thing, and it costs nothing in bandwidth, is pick a nice fucking background color. It's just a hexadecimal code. Whoop! What my favorite one was? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That gives you Carolina blue, which is a pleasant color.
Oh, that is nice to know. I am very, very glad to know. I recently learned the hex code for Lions Honolulu Blue because I needed to make something, and I was like, I just need to remember this because this is a nice color. But yes, and I think you were ahead of your time, and we're off the social media track, but I think it's important. You were ahead of your time because everybody now, the entire thing about web design is UX, is user experience. Like you want to make it as easy, specifically not just for desktop, but you also want it to be as easy to use on mobile. So that's what everyone's talking about now.
Yeah. No, I probably was. And it fell on deaf ears back then because it was so ahead of my time that people didn't want to hear it, right? Like there was like, no, I want what I want. I want a MIDI to play. We are the champions when you log on, and I want the screen to blink, and I want there to be a background that's black with like flowers, and then I want yellow text. And because of the background with flowers and the yellow text, you won't be able to
That is so true.
That's how it was.
Yeah. No, that's like I've got flashbacks just from horrible. Like when you were actually trying to use a client website, like you were going to like a legit business website, and you're like, no, I'm not going to do it. But back to social media. So what advice do you have for people who want to use social media responsibly in this day and age? Like to make us sound like the old people we are. In this day and age, how do you use social media responsibly?
In these trying times, I would say,
these unprecedented times.
Listen, and I would say this not just for this, but anything. Be discerning. Let your gut talk to you. Have a bullshit meter. That's my best advice. Like if it sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true. And I don't just mean that like if something's like far fetched, but I mean like this is the thing you really got to do is about what's the thing called, something bias. You're like where it scratches an itch of
confirmation bias.
That's it. Yes, confirmation bias. I couldn't think of the term. Yeah. Like
confirmation bias.
Yeah, like sometimes you read a thing and you want to believe it so badly because it appeals to your sensibilities, right? But you still got to go, hey, wait a minute now, hey, that's the tough thing is when it appeals to your confirmation bias. Do you still turn it off? Do you still fact check it? The answer should be yes. You still do.
Right.
You totally got to fact check this shit. Do I want to believe every bad thing I read about Trump? Sure. But sometimes I'll read some stuff and I go, that sounds a little like maybe that's horse shit. And you got to go look it up. And maybe I won't share it then because, like as much as I'd like it, to be true. I mean, the dude does enough horrible shit on his own that you don't need bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like wait 15 minutes, some real shit will happen. You can post that. And also the same, in regards to confirmation bias, not just confirmation bias, but also like outrage, like maybe do some fact checking before you get outraged, because that's a thing. I guess it hits your lizard brain. You know, it makes you like, like I'm enraged. I read this article and I hate it. I'm gonna share it now. You know, and maybe it's not true. You know, I spent a long time.
Right.
You know, we're talking about social media. I guess in a way, email is a type of social media, right? Let's say it is for the sake of my argument. But you know,
sure, let's go with it. I'm fine with that.
You know, when your racist uncle got on the email for the first time and he started forwarding you all this shit, you know, and it's all nonsense. It's like such bullshit. Most of it, like 90% of it, it's like it's this long-winded speech that's supposed, you know, we attribute to some celebrity, but it's not really that celebrity. Never said that shit, you know, and or whatever, and they would forward it to you, and you were like, man, come on, this is nonsense. It's not even real. And you know, somehow or another, for a while, I actually got on my mom's. I guess my mom's Sunday school class had like a mailing list, you know, and it was all that kind of stuff. It was conspiracy theory and bullshit, and they would forward it, and my mom would forward it to me, and I'm like, you know, two things. Like, this tells you how non-discerning my mom was. First off, that she didn't go, this sounds like bullshit. Secondly, that she didn't go, Bill's going to call me out for this bullshit.
Exactly.
Which I would, and I would. Here's the thing: I wouldn't just say, "Mom, this is nonsense." I would be like, I would reply all. Your entire Sunday school class is not gonna. Your entire Sunday school class is gonna get fact checked now. Have fun with this shit, because that's what I do. I'll tell you something. There's two fucking things that Bill hates. Okay, two fucking things, and actually one of them's just
only two. Surprise.
Well, I mean, okay, sorry. There's two things I hate above all. Like, I'll unfriend you for this shit, okay? Racism, which is honest to God a subset of misinformation, which is the other thing. I don't tolerate either one of them, okay? I will fact check your ass if you're racist and or spreading bullshit. And like I said, I think racism is actually, honest to God, it's a subset of spreading bullshit. Is all it really is. So they're one and the same. Honestly. It's just it's a harsher, bullshittier type of bullshit. I hate bullshit.
Right.
I really hate bullshit. You know, it's the reason I'm not religious. It's the reason I don't go in for, you know, whatever you're selling. I just hate bullshit. So anyway, I will fact check your ass in a heartbeat. I don't give a shit if you're my mom or my aunt or whatever the fuck. You know, and like I said, I'm not just gonna tell you, because I didn't feel like that was enough. Like, if I just said, Mom, this is nonsense, and you know better than to send me this, she'd be like, okay, and she, you know, a week would go by and she'd send it again. Maybe I did that at first. I don't recall.
Right.
But eventually, I got to the point where I'm like, no, I'm gonna tell you and all your fucking friends. Because that's the only way you're going to learn not to forward me this bullshit. Now, she probably still forwards it to everybody else, but I don't get forwarded it anymore. So, you know, I guess problem solved.
So, mission accomplished. Mission accomplished for sure. And I would say, like, for me, I think it's good that we have a platform where we can spread information. But I agree, the spread of misinformation is the biggest problem. So I really wish, like, Facebook specifically would go back to kind of its original intention, or should I say the intention once old people started joining Facebook, which was just like, let's connect with our friends and family that aren't close to us, you know, so that we have, you know, because I can't always talk to the person that, you know, I know in Southern California. So now I can. This gives me the opportunity to. But because we took it to, sharing information is good. We took that to another level, and obviously even further and further than that, where bots and politics and all of that is taken to an even higher level that I don't know was the original intention, or maybe it was, because the original intention for Facebook specifically, was to provide data to companies that wanted to buy the data. Not on Facebook. Facebook was not about picking up girls at all.
Wait, I thought, well, a Facebook in college is to pick up girls off. Like it's a book of girls' faces from college, right?
I guess the original version, but as soon as it got any sort of corporate backing,
I think
it changed real fast.
The dudes Zuckerberg stole it from. They just wanted to get laid. Okay.
Fair enough.
So it's
Fair enough.
It's the original intent, which is that's the root of all endeavors, in my opinion. That's the reason there's architecture and fire and all.
I mean, it's just biology, right?
Right. We're just fancy apes. I'm always telling my kids that.
That's all we're doing. We really are. No, that's absolutely true. 100%. We are fancy apes that keep other animals as pets and get takeout. Like we're not that special. We're just animals.
We do a lot of weird shit, but we're just fancy apes at the end of the day, and we're victims of biology. And that's what Facebook and MySpace and OkCupid and Plenty of Fish and all that shit was created for. Was just to get laid. That's what people want.
Right. Absolutely. But Albert also would like to add, bullshit is the core around which tribes form. He is not incorrect. And as Heather would also post, getting laid is the reason for all innovation. And I think that is very, very true.
I've maintained that for years. And I've had arguments with people where they were like, that's a grim way to look at the world. And I'm like, sorry. But, it's like, that line in Dead Poets Society. He's like, why were words created, right? To woo women. I guess that's bullet. Like, I'm not saying just because that's being binary or whatever. It's not just to woo women, but, let's be honest. I mean, whatever your proclivities are, I think the sex drive is the one that drives us to do things for the most part,
I think that's fair. I mean, yeah, I think that's fair.
If anybody out in our audience is asexual, I would love to hear what makes you do what you do. I'm not trying to diss you or anything. I'm honestly God curious. It's just a thing I want to know.
And with that said, we are edging closer to the end of the show, so I want to remind people about our mailbag segment. We don't have any questions this week, although we have sometimes had questions. So remember to send us some questions, people. Email us, message us, just comment on our Facebook or our YouTube. So we want to answer your questions online, and of course, you can on MySpace. We should totally set up a MySpace page just to do it. Because why not? I don't think so.
I'm curious.
And also, don't forget, you can ask questions here in the. You're looking it up. I like that. You can always ask questions right here in the comments on the live shows. So, but Bill, next. Yeah. Things that are extra. What do you while you're looking up whether MySpace still exists?
Apparently, MySpace exists in some. I don't know if it's the same. I haven't logged in yet. I'm probably gonna have to set up a new account, but I want to find out.
All right, and then if we can do it without getting a lot of viruses, we're gonna make a MySpace page for y'all. That's gonna happen. Yeah. All right. So
you guys log on too and send us a happy hump day message.
It's true. Absolutely. All right, Bill, things that are extra. What do you have for us this week?
Things that are extra this week. I wish there was a delete button for your brain, because there are things in my brain rattling around that I don't need to know. And there's things I do need to know that I can't remember because there's space taken up with bullshit, which I hate.
Yeah.
Case in example, the reason I brought this up was earlier this week, or was it late last week? I don't know. I was driving around at lunchtime. I had some errands to run, and I had the radio on, and a Jimmy Buffett song came on the radio. And I realized at some point I knew all the words to this Jimmy Buffett song. And I don't like Jimmy Buffett. And I was like, what a terrible shame that this is rattling around and taking up space in my brain. That you know the sad part is I probably know the words to probably 5 Jimmy Buffett songs. And there's no point to that. I don't need to know that. I don't, like I said, it's not like knowing all the words to all the Pixies songs. It's like, it's not helping me. I don't need Jimmy Buffett songs in my head. I'll tell you something crazy. I actually know all the words to several songs from a musical we did in 2nd grade about U.S. history. Okay? It's not a popular musical. It's not like, that's not like knowing all the words to Fiddler on the Roof, where at least I could have a couple of niche friends we could get together and enjoy it together. I know all the words to a musical that I'm the only person in America who remembers the words to. How fucking sad is that? Yeah.
Yeah, no. So Bill messaged this to me earlier to bring it up, probably so you could remember it, because otherwise you wouldn't remember it. Because I thought about this and I'm like, yeah, I can't remember if I turned the toaster oven off before I left my house, but I know all of the words to Hey Leonardo by Blessed Union of Souls. And why do I know that? Why is that a thing I know? Why other people don't even know that was a song? Why is that a thing I know? Right. But I do. So yes, I'm with you. Delete button.
Delete the button. Yeah, and delete all this random And you know, it's funny because actually I remember loads of stuff, and I remember all kinds of crazy shit like that. Like I remember everything I've ever read or heard or watched. You know, and sometimes people will be like, whoa, what a gift that must be. And I'm like, no, it's not a gift. It's a fucking curse, because you have to walk around life knowing this dumb shit that you can't. Like, I know I can make references to Saturday Night Live skits that weren't recurring skits that weren't popular. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's this one skit with Tom. There's this one skit where, like, I think it was the 5th time Tom Hanks was on Saturday Night Live. There's a skit. It's in the 1986 season, I want to say, and Tom Hanks is he's in a cafe that only serves chili or beans or something. It's called the Bean Cafe, and basically it's a bunch of fart jokes, but they don't quite get to the fart joke. They get just close to the fart joke, and then they stop.
I vaguely remember that skit. I do.
I remember every fucking line from that skit. I also remember all the lines. There's another skit that's like that too that sticks in my head. Maybe it was the same season. Maybe it was a season or two. No, it was a couple seasons later. Yeah, because this was after Chris Farley and Adam Sandler were on there. There's a skit where Woody Harrelson's on there, and they're at the beach, and the skit's called "Take Off Your Shirt," because at the time Woody Harrelson was young and svelte. And he's like asking all these other people, like, take off your shirt, take off your shirt. You know, and each of them have a reason they don't want to take the shirt off. You know, because I'm overweight, or I'm really hairy, or I've got an outie belly button, and all this. And I remember Dana Carvey, I believe he said, this was the best. This was the denouement of the whole skit. Was Dana says, well, I had an operation and I've got a baboon heart instead of a human heart, and it's on the outside of my chest. and this is the reason I remember the skit, was because after they finally all agree to take their shirts off, Dana Carvey's character says, "The sun feels warm on my baboon heart." And that's the line that like rattles around in my fucking head to make me remember this, okay? It's a reference.
Right. Yeah, why do you need to know that? Do you have...
It's a reference I can make.
I get the reference.
No, but I'm just saying.
The reference puts us directly in Generation X. Most people wouldn't even understand the reference to it, much less the actual skit.
Right.
But
I'm just saying. So there are days. There are days when I'm out in the sunshine, and I want to say to someone, "The sun feels warm on my baboon heart," and they'll just look at me like I've lost my goddamn mind because I'm the only person who knows what I'm referencing.
You may have. Right. We can't necessarily remember the combination keypad to get into, your current office, but you can remember that.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that there was a show on Nickelodeon. It was a spin-off of You Can't Do That on Television called Turkey TV.
Uh-huh.
Not only do I remember that it existed, but I could sing you the entire theme song right now.
Yes.
Right now. Like, I could sing it to you. I'm not going to, but I could.
I remember.
I can't even find a recording of it.
I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could start the song, but once you got it started, I could join in.
Exactly. Folks, we are not doing that. At least not yet. Maybe if we're drunk enough on our Thanksgiving show, we'll do that.
Yes, exactly. We'll sing the theme from Turkey TV on Thanksgiving.
Maybe. By the way, it starts out with 7 years ago. We're talking about TV. So yes, that's how it starts. But anyway, so that's it. That's our show for the week. Thank you, everybody. So take us away, Bill.
Okay, so this show here is engineered and produced by Laura Lavoie. The opinions are those of Bill, the ones expressed by Bill, and the ones expressed by Laura are hers, and the ones that we nod our head in agreement to or we share. And they're not necessarily the opinions of whomever we tried to pitch, like Blake Sider or Geeky Tiki or whomever. But in the event that either of these people does like our show and thinks that we're good pitch people, then they should definitely get in touch with us and see about sponsoring our show. Also, what else was I going to say? We've got merchandise and stuff, so you guys feel free to, I don't know what the website is. Do we have a website for the merchandise?
We do not have a website, but you can go to threadless.com to Bill Has Opinions, and you can find our t-shirt.
That's what I meant. I was like, when I said website, I meant what platform are we selling crap on? Threadless. Very good.
Threadless. We are selling crap on Threadless. Yes.
We're selling crap on Threadless, so feel free to buy our crap. And otherwise, tune in next week.
We encourage that.
Yeah, 5 o'clock on Tuesday. And tell your friends, because we really need to up.
6 o'clock. Don't tune in at 5 o'clock because we won't be here. Tune in at 6 o'clock.
Tune in early for the pre-show, which there isn't. But
whatever that is. There's not.
No, start a pre-show. No, but tune in at 6 o'clock next week on Tuesday. And tell your friends about it because we're trying to up our attendance here. By episode 20, we'd like to have 15 people maybe. That'd be great.
Oh, that's a goal. So we're going from 4. We appreciate all 4 of you. We had 5 at the most tonight. We appreciate all of you, but tell your friends. We would love more people to listen.
You can always watch our reruns
share
or on the YouTube. Yeah, be sure to like and subscribe and hate us on YouTube. That's what I'm trying to say. There you go.
Do that. All right, folks. We'll see you again in a week, and we got another fun show planned for you then. So take care, everybody.
Bye, social media.